Greetings to you. I'm Brother James Muhammad, a student in the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and your host for this week's segment of Closing the Gap broadcast. We want to welcome all of our viewing and listening audience, those of you who are regular participants in the broadcast, also, hopefully, those who are there or here for the first time. I want to introduce, as we always do, our dear co-hosts, our dear sister, Starla Muhammad, the managing editor of the Final Call newspaper, and of course, our dear brother, student minister, Chad Muhammad of Muhammad Mosque, number 47, located in the great Tampa Bay area of Florida. So, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Now, we have a very, very, very special guest, but before we bring her on, we always open in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds. We thank Almighty God, Allah, for his merciful and prophetic intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. And we thank him for raising up from our midst his messenger, Messiah, the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, through whom we have been given our beloved and blessed Redeemer. And I refer to him as my personal Savior. The man of whom I speak is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I once again greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Tonight, we're very blessed to host a very, very, very special and brilliantly talented guest, taking the hip-hop world, I would say, by storm, and really just magnificently expressing the word, the teachings, and lifting the consciousness of our people through that most popular media. And so I want you to hear a little from her, from these video clips, and then, of course, we'll bring our dear sister on. But before we do that, I always extend the opportunity for our dear sisters and brother co-hosts to say some opening words of welcome if such you desire to do. Sister Starla.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Excited and happy to be back on another new episode of Closing the Gap. And as always, we want to encourage and invite our viewing. And if there are any questions that you have that you would like to present, to make sure that you place your questions in the chat, and we will get through as many of them as possible. But I'm excited, Brother James. I've been a fan of our sister for years. I'm still a fan of her Keisha's Changing animation that she did several years ago. And of course, love watching her content on social media. Is just a breath of fresh air. So really looking forward to hearing from our sister this evening. Thank you.
All praise be to Allah. Assalamu alaikum and happy Savior's Day, family. I share this.
Happy Savior's Day.
Praise be to Allah. I share the same sentiments as my dear sister Starla Muhammad. Look forward to this. Hip hop is my alley. That's my background too. I worked in the studio for probably 20 years and worked with a lot of artists and grew up as an artist myself. Then moved to the background as a producer. So this is my field. So I'm looking forward to it. And we welcome you, dear sister.
Right on.
Alhamdulillah.
All praises due to Allah. I see we've been joined by our dear brother Hashim Redeem Hakeem. Assalamu alaikum. Just want to give you a shout out of greeting, brother Hashim. Thank you for joining the show. All praises due to Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
Allahu Akbar. And now let's hear via video clip something from our dear sister, Sister Sheila, if you will.
enough to know that hip-hop has been hijacked. Akilah means intelligent, and I'm intelligent enough to know I can do all things with the source of strength. Tired of being fed low vibrational gimmicks and caricatures, that they will be fiending for the truth and any glimpse of light, and music will be that medicine, but we gotta hit rock bottom first.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Let's go to the video clip of the spark.
Sister told me go ahead, bless this beat. Why y'all fascinated by these closet freaks? Now I'm not judging, just don't think it's cute. I heal him like Lauren gave me the alley. To Allah, all my praises due. To mama, all my love is true. To fake phonies, wannabes, you better off just being you. Stay true, that's the motto, that's the game plan. No politicking with this puppets, woman or that man. My sister told me, go ahead, bless this beat. Farrakhan said, don't do it for the vanity. Painful world inside these women, it's some hurting girls before you call her thotty. Check what led to her insanity. There's a reason for everything. Stay clean above suspicions where you'll find me. Above suspicions where you'll find me. Homeboy wanna ride, hop up in the backseat. I'm the prize and I love it mucho. Passion, pain, hard work to be numero uno. Comfort zone, had to get out my comfort zone. The heart is in the home, but the money is in who do you know? I'm talking friendships in all walks. No new friends, that's how a fool talks. I'm trying to walk like Jesus walked, and if I'm not the one, please God, let me be the spark. And that's what Tupac said. My only mission is resurrect the mentally dead. Starting with me, so I spit the truth hard. Cause the spit'll spit, opens eyes, vision.
You know, I never want to condescend. There are a lot of people who condescend to the audience. You know, they just think, oh, they like anything. Just throw a beat on it and put your voice on it. But if it doesn't move me, then I don't think it's worthy enough to put out there and move someone else. You know what I mean? Like it has to be something that is personally, you know, is something that I need personally. That's my barometer for whether or not it's good for the people. Not just anything. Just, you know, just make a beat, it's hot, throw it out there. You know, that I can't use that barometer. That doesn't work with me.
Wow, come on.
Powerful. All
Yes.
praises due to Allah.
Mhm.
And it's my great pleasure at this time to introduce to some, but present to most, because she's so well known, our dear sister, Akilah Nehanda. And Walaikum salam. How you doing, dear sister?
Wonderful. Praise be to Allah.
Well, we're in a wonderful mood at this time. Very happy and honored to have you as our special guest this evening. I want to, as we do with all of our guests, read your bio. And as usual, with the consistent humility of our guests, the bios usually understate what you have contributed, of course, to the nation and to the world, and to Black people in particular. But I'll read it if I may. About Akilah. Akilah is a musical artist, content creator, and YouTube influencer. The Howard University graduate has even been featured in The Source, that's a very popular hip hop magazine, and recognized by Vice News as the best Muslim rapper Houston ever seen. She has performed in various cities all over the United States. She has hosted, performed, and spoken on panels. I'm sorry, it's a little blurry. And spoken on panels at notable conferences, such as the All Black National Convention, founded by financial mogul Dr. Boyce Watkins, the National Saviors Day Convention put on by the Nation of Islam, and the Blossom and Soul Festival based in Houston, Texas. Besides being a musical artist, Akilah has managed to organically reached millions of views on her social media platforms for her colorful content and modest fashion reels. She is currently signed to artist development label called Peace Industry Music Group, which is an imprint label at Rock Nation. Akilah's motto is, I'd rather change the game than sit back and complain. This is our sister, Akilah Nehanda. Now, I was curious as to the name Nehanda, so I did a little research on my own. And I found that our dear sister's name, or she's the namesake of our sister Akilah Nehanda, that literally fought in the liberation struggle for Zimbabwe against the land invasion of the British. She was born in 1840 and they executed her in 1848. There's a statue erected to her greatness in Zimbabwe. She was a member of the Shona tribe, which really consisted of 6 other tribes, one of which was the Zulu tribe. So when I read that, I said, well, I got a little idea as to where she gets her fighting, her teaching, her scholarly spirit. So all praise is due to Allah. So at this time, it's my great honor and privilege to bring to the microphone again to present to some and introduce to some our dear sister, Akilah Nehanda. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Definitely honored to be on this platform. I watched some of the interviews, and so now being on the platform feels like a privilege and an honor. So thank you for having me.
Well, we're the appreciative ones. The honor and the privilege is ours. Tell us a little more about yourself personally, if you don't mind. I understand that you are a nation baby or grew up in the Nation of Islam. Tell us a little something about that sojourn.
Yes, sir. So I am born and raised in Houston, Texas. I was born in the Nation of Islam. My mother, Sister Angela Muhammad, my father, Brother Durs Muhammad. And I grew up really surrounded by a lot of revolutionary people. So Dr. Khalid Muhammad, he used to be the national representative of Minister Farrakhan years ago. He's from Houston. So I have pictures of him holding me when I was like 4, so I have pictures of Sister Ava, Sister Dr. Ava, may peace be upon her, holding me on her lap. And that picture actually made it in her Janaza program, which blew my mind. But I was surrounded by revolutionary people my whole life since I was little. My father was a captain, my mom was a lieutenant, and, so all of these different strong personalities and revolutionaries have surrounded me. And then my middle name is actually Nehanda. So my last name is Muhammad, but
yes,
that name Nehanda that you described, and I think she was executed 1898. I'm not sure, but she fought.
Correct. That's
right.
correct.
So she fought, and she basically single-handedly earned the title that she has as one of the greatest revolutionaries of Zimbabwe. And I had to look up my own name. But when I found that out, that it meant reoccurring revolutionary spirit, and it also meant solid, I was like, wow. And this was around a time when I saw the solid definition was later on. And I would always say things like, no, you got to be solid. You got to be solid. So then when I saw that my name means solid, I'm like, see? No. But yeah, so I'm married. I have a 4-year-old. I have traveled all around the world due to my mother working for the airline. So I traveled Africa, Asia, South America, the Caribbean, so many, Europe, so many places with the exception of Australia and Antarctica, of course. But that traveling before all of that, really before the age of probably 22, 21, gave me a global perspective. And it gave me, besides the fact, of course, Minister Farrakhan, Sister Dr. Ava, and all of these powerful people, but it gave me the courage and the audacity to do what I do today, because once you start traveling, you see that everybody, needs the same thing, and everybody is going through the same things. And so it creates more of a, I want to say, a self-awareness, but more so like I guess I'm trying to say more like a confidence in how you should move forward in the world. And so because of that, I do believe traveling played a big role in me not being afraid to be on the stage and do the things that I do, because I've seen so much. I'm not necessarily afraid of how will people in this country feel or that country feel. I've been to those countries. I've been to the Middle East, so all of these things have contributed to who I am today. And then, of course, going to the prestigious Howard University in Washington, D.C., that really helped shape me. And that's actually where I started to rap. That is when Nicki Minaj came out and her mixtape started getting really popular. And I saw the direction that the young girls were about to start going, because her marketing was so attractive with the pink and the Barbie dolls. And I saw where this was headed. And so I was like, man, I got to figure out how to make the type of women that I'm used to, attractive to the world. Like, I've got to figure out how to show representation for girls like me, who were my friends, who were, the women who I grew up with, the women who I see at the mosque, women in my family. I got to figure out a way to represent them. And at first I was singing, and then I decided to start rapping because I was like, rapping is what the young people, what we listening to. So I'm gonna have to pivot and start rapping. So that's what actually encouraged me. Nicki Minaj and seeing what she was doing actually encouraged me to start, I guess you could say, showing representation from myself and people like me in rap instead of just singing. I felt like it would be more effective for my generation. So I guess that's that in a nutshell.
I remember, what was the rap that the name of the rap that was on the campus?
That was my first music video that I set up the camera for,
right,
and that I edited and all that and directed, and that was called Best in the World.
Right.
My college roommate, Naila, she rapped on that track with me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I was mostly singing on that because I'm like, all you need. Yeah, so that was more like me still singing, transitioning into the rapping. But I had Naila to rap on that track. And I was getting all the people on campus because I think it was every Friday. Every Friday, everybody would get on the yard. All of the fraternities and sororities would just be on the yard. And so I was like, okay, cool. We're going to have to do it on a Friday because then I'll have people on the yard. So then I'll have my extras. I'll have my people in the video. I don't have to ask, So I put out little flyers all over the campus, like, oh, on this day, this time, come out to be in my music video. And the funny thing is, I'm thinking that that's all I had to do because that usually works for me. But in this case, like, people were just trickling in. It was like a couple people. So I had to literally grab people and be like, hey, come over here. Like, come over here. So we had to really pull people in. But then when we did, if you guys see that video on YouTube, it's still on there. And it's so funny because I'm like, you can tell this is my first video. It's all like, it looks all old and I don't have, it's just ridiculous. But that's a lot of people's favorite video from me, like, to date. Even though it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that the new, technology has, and my new videos have, it's like, people still like that one because people would always tell me that it made them feel good, like summertime, Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff, and
Right.
they were like, it made me feel good, and all the people dancing in the video, and all the fraternities and sororities dancing together. Everybody looked like they were having just a blast, and so it was a hit amongst the nation. Like, they played it on a national webcast. I think it was for like, I don't know if it was like for a believers meeting, but they played it, and I'm like, y'all really like this? Yeah, I really like this
I
video.
know I did, definitely.
So I'm glad that it was, it had such a beautiful response to be my first really official video that I decided to do. But yeah, that's when I started my rap career, was at Howard. Before then, I've been going to performing arts high schools. Well, I went to a performing arts middle school called Pershing Middle School. And then I went to a performing arts high school called HSPVA in Houston, Texas, the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. And that's the high school that Beyonce went to for a brief time as well. And her vocal teacher was the same vocal teacher that was there when I was there as well. And so I've always been in the arts. I was in musical theater, so I did a lot of theater. I did a lot of stage production. And even though I was in musical theater, I would always get cast, usually as like a lead role in the just regular theater shows. So I was doing a lot of just acting. Initially, I wanted to be an actress. And I guess for Sister Starla, when she was talking about the Keisha's Changing, I did all the character voices for Keisha's Changing, utilizing my acting skills and my theater background. So theater and all of the great lessons that I learned in my high school, from, doing stage makeup to like the ins and outs of writing a script and all these different things. And script writing, also my major at Howard was film production. So I have a background. That's why I do all of my music videos. I direct and I edit all my music videos because of my film background at Howard. So all of these things are just tools for my music career, so that I can know what is possible. Because if you don't know how to edit a video, if you don't know the backgrounds, the ins and outs of like lighting and all these different things, then people can just do what they want with your content, and you really don't have any control, because you don't have the knowledge as to how to explain what you want to see. But because I have a background in film and theater and all of those things, when it comes to my music videos and just my music in general, I have a wider knowledge as to how I want my videos to look, how I want them to feel, what message I want to come across. So all of the things that I've done in the past, especially my education with theater and film and music, that has definitely helped me now that I took on a career of music and being an influencer.
That's excellent. And it certainly shines through in your performance, as well as your scholarly academics. Giving the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes right through. It's very like what I would call professorial, as if you have a teaching background. You're very obviously very comfortable in sharing and relating and teaching the people. It was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed what I viewed thus far. I'd like to turn the show back over to our dear sister, Starla Muhammad, the managing editor of the Final Call newspaper. I like to say the greatest paper that has ever been published by the greatest publisher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I want to encourage our viewing and listening audience. This is an interactive show. We want you to engage our guests with whatever questions and comments that you are motivated to post. So at this time, let me present once again my dear sister, our dear sister, Starla Muhammad. I refer to her as the star of the show, and I'm usually a bit more extravagant in my expressions. But at this time, I will certainly just turn it over to her. Sister Starla.
Yes, sir. Walaikum salam, Brother James. We have a question. We have a few questions already, so we'll go ahead and get started. And this first question was actually a question I was going to ask, so we'll place it on the screen for you, Sister Akilah. Brother Kashif asked, peace, what inspired you to be in the profession of theater, arts, and music? You had shared, middle school and high school. So was little Akilah at 2 and 3 years old, was that something that you always had an interest in, that creative side? Can you talk a little bit about even those early years?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Brother Kashif. I know Brother Kashif, aka Brother Rodolfo. He was in Houston with us back in the day. And what inspired me? Yes, I've always wanted to be on the stage as a little, like you said, 2 years old, 3 years old. I just remember watching Michael Jackson and being like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. At first, when people would ask me what I wanted to do, I would say I want to be a doctor. And then when I saw Michael Jackson, I was like, oh no, I want to be a singer. That's what I want to do. And so I think ever since then, and then just seeing other artists growing up, it just really inspired me, because I just really loved the way it made me feel when I would watch people and how they can change the mood of the room, or even watching the Cosby Show or all of those different things. I'm just like, wow, like the arts is really where it's at. Like the arts is what is, I guess it just changes the spirit. It can change the spirit or the environment, and then it can revolutionize the world. And so, and the minister talks about that as well. So I've always had a leaning towards that. And I was actually shy growing up because I was more of an observer. I was very quiet. But at home, I was putting on all kinds of shows. I was just, talking all the time. But like when I was, but when I would be out, because I actually have a history of a lot of medical issues. So I had open heart surgery when I was 3 years old. The believers were donating blood to me. I had spinal surgery when I was in middle school, probably about 11 or 12 years old. I know I was in 7th grade, and I had spinal surgery because I had severe scoliosis. And so I have metal rods in my back. It's like all of these things played a role in my disposition as well, because I couldn't do all the things that the other children were doing. So I was always around. I mean, I could, but I guess I'm saying when I was younger, like 3 years old and all of that, that age. So I was always around adults, and I like that. I was perfectly fine with just observing them, listening to their wisdom. And I was always at the hospital getting checkups and all of that. So I think that's what shaped. I think that played a part in my being kind of reserved, just observing people. And my mom actually, I think when she was pregnant with me, she was studying sociology. And so I study people a lot. And, in order to be good in theater, you got to know how to act like somebody else. You got to play a character. You got to play a role. But I was naturally observing people and seeing how they act. So, yes, since I was very little, I wanted to dive into the arts because I felt that that's where I would thrive, and it just made sense.
Praise be
Thank
to
you.
Allah. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to keep it going. I'm going to follow Sister Starla. The next question comes from our dear brother at our regional headquarters, Mosque 29, Brother Tony Muhammad. And he posted this, which he is a great, a big fan of hip hop and have worked with a lot of hip hop artists and those in the hip hop. He asked a question. He said, Assalamu alaikum, dear sister. You have garnered much attention for your powerful artistry. Have industry representatives approach you about recording opportunities? How have you responded? How important is it for artists in the Nation of Islam and conscious artists in general to unify and maintain high standards in their representation?
Thank you for the question, Brother Tony. I have been approached in my by A&R in my inbox on Instagram, but I think it was right after that, Dr. Boyce Watkins, he introduced me to Mr. John Boyd, who is the founder of Peace Industry Music Group. And so I linked with him instead because I know Dr. Boyce Watkins, and he has really been a truly helpful individual when it came to my career recently, as of recent, when he saw my freestyle about the baby, and when he was in hot water for talking about the LGBTQ community, I did a freestyle about that, and Dr. Boyce Watkins saw that video. And from then on, and ever since, he's been promoting me on his platform, and he has a much bigger platform. So a lot of people started to know me and know about me because of him. So when he suggested John Boyd, I was like, well, that's who I'm going to go with, because I know somebody who knows him and can vouch for him. And the rest of that question is very important to unify with the conscious artists, because, and maintain high standards, because before anything, I'm Muslim, and before anything, I'm an MGT. So I got registered I stood up at 16, but I ended up getting registered on my birthday at 17. So that's not something that I ever, had a second thought about. I knew I was going to get registered once they said I was of age to be registered. So I'm first Muslim, and then I'm an artist. So I think that if we were to think like that as the artists in the Nation of Islam, then I just can't see how, we could represent ourselves in such a way that, would be against a high standard. It happens, but I don't suggest that we in the Nation of Islam put out lyrics that are explicit, put out messages that our brothers and sisters in the world are putting out, because we're supposed to be the clean glass. We're supposed to be an attracting factor. And regardless to what we think is trendy, we're the ultimate trend, because everything is going to be pointing towards us. Everything's going to be pointed towards the Nation of Islam at one point. So if anything, when it comes to trends, I think joining the Nation of Islam and having that understanding, you're far ahead when it comes to trends.
That's right.
Than anybody, because man, when I say TikTok got all these different trends coming out and I cannot keep up, I'm like, how in the world can you even keep up nowadays with the type of trends that are coming out? Like, it's literally almost like every day it's a new song, it's a new trend, it's a new TikTok dance. So you can try to keep up with this world, but it's best that we set our own standards and that we understand like what we have to bring to the table and how everybody's going to start looking at us, just like everybody's starting to look at the whole UFO phenomenon that we've been talking about since 1930. So I think that when it comes to the believers getting together and joining forces, I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't know. I think it's powerful when groups form, like rap groups, but everybody want to be solo. So I just had to be my solo thing. But originally, I really wanted to be in a group because I just think that's so powerful. But it's a time for everything, and I guess now is the time of individuals. If you notice, there's no more groups anymore. So that's just kind of what it is. And I do believe the groups will start coming back. And when the groups start coming back, that's going to be so powerful.
Wow.
All praises due to Allah.
Thank you, dear sister.
You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did tell us that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him when there was a question of our interaction with the civil rights groups and with others, he said, well, don't worry, brother, keep your position because they're all going to come this way.
Exactly.
And I firmly believe that. So in terms of trend setting, we are and will be the trendsetters among our people. And inshallah, when the kingdom of God is established, the entire world. So all praise is due to Allah. Okay, let's go back to our audience, Sister Starla.
All right, we have got a question from none other than DJ Rockwell, Brother Vaughn down in the ATL. He says, question, assalamu alaikum. Are you going to continue touring this year, and will ATL be a tour stop?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Rockwell. Yes. So the answer to that question is inshallah, yes, sir. And ATL will be a stop. Oh, yeah. So I would say we're looking at Cali, like LA. We're looking at Atlanta and Houston. So I'm actually going to be performing in Alabama. Before that, I'm going to be performing, unfortunately, Savior's Day weekend. So I'll be in Alabama doing a show. And it's really like a campaign to help the assistant who's actually been assisting me throughout my tour. Her name is Dee. And she's on a weight loss journey that's, everyone is trying to help, and it's like a campaign. And so we're doing a really a big thing for her in Alabama at the end of February. So the first stop for this year on the tour is Alabama. Inshallah, the second will be either Atlanta or Houston, and then we're going to end it with LA. And that's all, inshallah.
All praises due to Allah. I'm very happy with a shameless announcement that to let the people know that our dear brother DJ Rockwell, Brother Vaughn, actually is a member of the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. So shout out, dear brother. All praises due to Allah. Thank you for joining us.
Praise be to Allah. All right, we'll keep it going. This next question is from our dear brother. He's an artist also, Brother Bender Nasir. And he asked the question, do you have any advice for those looking for grants to fund their art or theater projects?
Yes, I'm still trying to learn about that. I have a friend who told me about a grant site that I'm going to be looking into as well. But I would say my only advice, because that's not really my expertise, is to link with a grant writer, because there's a lot of grant writers. You'd be surprised, and you might know some and just didn't know that they were grant writers. And I think that the first step for artists, because usually, and it's a stereotype, but it's a stereotype for a reason, we are starving artists. And so a lot of times we don't get the proper funding for these things. Even the tour that I'm doing right now, everything is really just from donations, donations out of pocket. Mr. John Boyd doing it out of his pocket. So we are learning, how to get the proper funding and the proper grants. And so far, we've been doing good being under the Peace Industry Group umbrella. But as far as, the other artists, that's what I would suggest, is to find a grant writer and link with them.
Wow. Did you happen to have the opportunity to respond to our producer's email with whatever information that we could give to present and to show on the broadcast, how we could help, how we can contribute?
Oh, yes, you could absolutely go to my website. And I didn't respond to that. I didn't see that question, but I guess I didn't read the whole email. But my website is akilahsworld.com. And there's donation buttons on like every page. And, links to my Cash App, links to my PayPal. And I can actually put that in the chat so that you can, so that it can scroll. But all of those links are on my website. So I'm putting that in there now. Oh, www. Let me do that again.
All right, that is coming through.
All right.
Right.
We've got more questions. So we will place another one on the screen as well. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Akilah. How do you enjoy motherhood? And what other artists influence your musical career? And I would like to, on another note, I really enjoy when I see you, your husband, and your daughter in videos together. I mean, your husband, my brother's like the hype is hype man. I'm like, go ahead. He's supporting his queen in those videos, and your daughter, it's like, you know, we've seen her and watched her grow up. So to see you all interact on screen together is beautiful as well. But if you can talk about, you know, how do you enjoy, you know, being a wife, motherhood, and other artists that have influenced you over the years?
I enjoy it. You know, when it comes to my husband, he's very supportive. As you can see him dancing in the back, like, yeah. And he has a theater background as well. And he's a DJ. He's my DJ. And he raps, sings, all of that. And so because he has a musical background, he's all in, you know, he's all into it. And so, and I'm always coming up with ideas and all kinds of video things. And so he's always like, okay. I'm like, okay. And now today we're going to do this. And then we're going to do a video on Thursday. And he's just like, all right. He's like, all right, well, I'll be there. So he's very supportive. And then Ailani, she loves, like, she's actually at a stage now where, because I put on makeup for my, you know, my videos and whatnot, she's trying to, oh, I want my own makeup and I want to, you know, so she wants to do everything that I do. So you got to be careful when, you know, you're around the little ones, because she wants to rap all of my songs, which is a good thing, because all of my songs are child friendly. You know, there's no cursing, there's no N words, there's none of that. And so she enjoys, genuinely, she knows all of my lyrics. And now that she's 4, she raps them around the house. And she brings it up on her own. And she goes, Mommy, this the one, this the one, this the one. And so she'll just start singing, you know, or rapping. And then so she's my number one fan as well. She's at a stage where she wants to get on the stage with me. So we have to like hold her back. But but it's been a beautiful thing. And I think that's one of the things that attracted a lot of people as well, is seeing my family in the background.
Praise be to Allah. I know in your bio it spoke about the source. Do you mind sharing that experience of being in the source? How was that like? How did it come about?
Well, it was really interesting when I did the freestyle about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. That got over 2 million views on TikTok, and it just garnered a lot of traction because my opinion was different from everybody else. I'm like, yeah, protect the Black woman, you know. That was my stance. I'm like, that's his wife, protect her. Y'all watch the housewives slapping each other all day and you don't get in an uproar. But when, you know what I mean? So when someone is at least saying that they were doing that for a noble cause, then now it's like, oh, he's a monster. And, you know, I'm like, so my take was so different from the narrative that everyone else was painting about Will Smith, that I think that's what, I think those lyrics is what made that video take off so strongly. And so with that, what was the question? Say that question one more time.
Yeah, so just talking about this source.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about and everything?
Well, that's the video that the source picked up. And they from that, they did an article about it. And it was a sister who did the article. and she, trying to get her name, but she really is someone, and now I follow her. She follows me on social media, but just following her, she's a very conscious woman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually knew her through, I believe, Lish 2X said that she knew her as well. And I think that might have been a link. I'm not sure. I'm trying to get her name, but she was very pivotal in that happening because she wrote the article.
Mm.
And so I really appreciate her for that, because, and she also came to my concert in New York, you know? So she was supporting from, afar. That's why I'm trying to get her name. I'll get it eventually. But she really put me out there. So yeah, I was kind of surprised because all of the type of press that I've gotten has never been from a press person. It's always just been from them seeing me. Even in Vice, um, Noisy Vice, they picked me up for seeing my video "We Out Here." When he saw "We Out Here," his name is Lance. When he saw "We Out Here," he was like, "Oh, can I write an article about you?" And I'm like, "Sure." So all of those major publications came organically. I never have had a marketing agent. I've never had a publicist. To this day, I still don't have a publicist. All the things that I do happen organically from me just posting videos, and that's it.
Wow. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All praise is due to Allah. Just another shout out. We don't generally do shout outs, but if we did, we certainly want to shout out our dear sister who is responsible for the beautiful flyers that advertise our broadcast, Sister Akua Kariamu. I think her handle is Akua's Corner. Thank you, sister, for your wonderful, wonderful work. She's a member of the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network in the Graphic Arts Department.
Wonderful.
So thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It looks great.
Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, the questions are coming in steady. I'll put the next one on the screen. This is from my brother James Maxton, who's asked, how long does it take for you to write a rap song?
When it comes to the hot topics, it don't take me long at all because you got to get on it, right? So a lot of those, it comes to me. I started going viral because of those hot topic freestyles. So if something were to happen, like the Will Smith thing, right? I'll write that in maybe a couple hours, is just thinking about it and write that. And then some things might take me a couple days. So like I'll write some of it and then I'll come back to it another day and then I'll come back to it another day. But I never really stay on it too long. So sometimes it comes through days. And then, but for the most part, it doesn't take me long to write a song at all. Like usually a day. And then, like I said, maybe over days, but not the whole day just thinking about it. And then when I get in the studio, because of the low funds, I'm willing to pay for about 2 hours max. And so it usually takes me 1 hour, be in and out of the studio. So it doesn't take me long to record the song because I already know how I want it to sound. And I think because of my theater background, going back to theater, you have to be on stage, and you can't mess up on stage. So I don't have a whole lot of mess ups. I do it over and over if I need to, but for the most part, I know how to deliver within a short amount of time.
Praise be to Allah. All righty, we'll keep it going. This is from our dear brother Kashif Muhammad. Say, is your connection to the music also inspired by the minister? And did he give you any words of inspiration that you mind sharing with us?
He definitely gave us so Hip Hop Detox. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Brother Enoch he has an organization and a group called Hip Hop Detox, where they do hip hop with a message, and it's the full hip hop culture. So you'll have breakdancing, you'll have like a play and all these different things. It's like a musical. And he's been doing this for years, doing it in different schools all over the country, but mostly Chicago, since that's where he's from. And one year, I want to say it was I'm trying to think of the year. It might have been 2015, 2016, or 2017. One of those years. We went to Chicago. He got a lot of us who are artists in the nation, and the minister wanted to speak with us. And we had the honor of going to the palace, and the minister spoke for like 4 hours to us. And we were sitting there for hours listening to the wisdom of Minister Farrakhan. And I was able to ask him a question. My question was, how do you want the women in hip hop to behave, present ourselves? And his answer was to study the women from back in the day, like Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne, all of those type of women who were very classy. He said to study them and how they presented themselves, how they dressed, and how elegant they were, how feminine they were. He said to study them. And he also told us about how the beat of the song is great. However, the lyrics is really what is going to wake up the minds and the hearts of the people. So those were the main things that stood out to me as far as like advice. And to this day, it's funny because that was in maybe 2016, 2017. But it wasn't until recently that it clicked what he said about study Lena Horne and Ella Fitzgerald and all those jazz singers who wore elegant dresses while they performed. Because I was trying to figure out what type of style of clothes that I wanted to wear on stage and at my concerts and whatnot. And I had bought this really like shiny mermaid type shape dress, and I got basically it's the same picture. The picture for the flyer for this is the outfit that I'm talking about. I have on like the green crown and the green outfit, the green dress. And then when I thought about it and I said, oh, this should be my look. And it's funny because now looking back, I'm like, if you were to see me standing up like a full view, that's literally like the type of dress that they were wearing back in the day when it came to, presenting themselves on stage, almost like a sequence type of long dress. And so now it's funny because the minister can tell you things and you can take it in, but sometimes that seed won't germinate until years later. And you don't even realize you're walking in what he told you to do sometimes until you think like, wait a minute, this outfit looks like Ella Fitzgerald. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the right track. Because now I remember that's what he told me to do. That's what he told me to look like. And I'm like, oh, wow, I did that actually unintentionally. But then when I realized it, I said, okay, now I kind of have an idea of how I want to go forward with the style for the rest of my tour. So I basically just get those type of outfits in different colors.
All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful too.
Praise.
I love that flyer. I love it.
Yes.
If I can have a second, I just wanted to shout out my dear brother, longtime brother and friend, student minister Jamil Muhammad has joined us. I believe Brother Jamil still has the broadcast, the Nothing But the Truth. I don't know when it is, but I want to give my brother a shout out, Brother Jamil Muhammad and his wonderful wife. All praise is due to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Nothing but the truth. Whenever you happen upon it, make sure we tune in. Also, we're joined by our dear brother and student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 15B, Brother Desmond Muhammad, hailing from the city of Miami initially, or Fort Lauderdale, actually. And now he is the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 15. I want to shout our brother out. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Desmond. Praise to Allah.
15B, that's right.
All right, let's keep it going.
Oh, I was going to say, Brother Jamil, we go way back as well, because he was, when I was at Howard University, he was very supportive and, you know, being in DC. So shout out to Brother Jamil, Uncle.
All praises due to Allah.
All right, we've got a question on here for Brother Mandine with CROW, Chicago's own Coalition for the Remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Brother Mandine asks, he says, you've done quite a few freestyles over the years. Is there one that's more personal for you, one that you can relate to more?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mandine. Yes, I was on his show when I was in Chicago. He treated me and my family so wonderful. So thank you for the question. There's so many freestyles that I've done. Yes. One that stands out to me right now is the Shinquella video that I did. I believe her last name was Robinson, Shinquella Robinson, I want to say. But Shinquella is the sister who,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
who was killed in Mexico by some so-called friends, right? They were fighting her and she hit her head, I believe. And I believe that's how she might have passed away. But I was really just appalled by that story. So I was sitting in the car and I decided to write. This is one of those moments where it didn't take me long at all to write this song. It was a matter of minutes. I was finished with this because, you know, when I'm inspired and when I'm passionate about something, the lyrics just kind of come. I don't have to sit on it for too long. So I was in the car and I wrote the song. Right when I was done writing the song, I turned on Final Call Radio. In Final Call Radio, the minister was literally talking at the Hip Hop Summit. Mind you, I just turned it on right after I wrote the song. When I turned it on, he said, he was telling the artist, he said, open this paper, talking about the Final Call newspaper. Open the paper and look at the different events, the current events. And he said, you know, write a song or make a song about what you're reading, what you see, like what's going on. And when I tell you I almost threw the phone, I mean, I was blown away because I think a little before that, I had got a little criticism from some people who I don't know, but it was brought to me that, you know, so I guess some people in the nation, not a lot. So trust me, the majority of the people in the nation support what I'm doing. But it was like a little group. I don't know who it was, but a sister came to me and said, they trying to figure out why you always doing current events freestyles. Like, is that all you're going to do? Are you going to do any other songs? Are you doing an album? Like, they feel like, are you doing it just for clout? And that surprised me. And it was offensive, not the fact that she brought it to me, but the fact that that was in their minds, that I'm trying to do current events to get clout or get, you know, just because I know it'll go viral. Yes, I know it'll go viral, but I'm doing it to show a different perspective because first and foremost, the Nation of Islam needs to be on social media. Not only do we need to be on social media, but they do not see enough MGT doing anything, let alone, you know, doing music and so I'm proud to say that as of recent, we're starting to see a lot more MGT step up on social media and do reels and do videos and do songs on the videos or just talk about how they rear their children, how they cook. All of these things are necessary and needed, But I've been doing it for so long that I guess the thought was, oh, are you just doing this for clout now that you're doing these videos about current events? So when I heard the minister say that, it was almost like confirmation for me that I'm not doing it because of whatever other people are thinking I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because of really what the minister had just said in that video. We need to be reporting what's going on. Not only should we be reporting it, but giving our perspective, because this world gives their perspective, but we never give our perspective in the way that it needs to be done, except for if you open the final call. And so that's not the only way that our people need to hear our, perspective about certain things, especially when it has to do with our people. So I think the Shinquella one was really important because it confirmed by hearing the minister say, rap about current events. I said, well, guess what? I'm on the right track again. Praise be to Allah. But it takes being in tune with him and really just doing what Allah inspires you to do, regardless of what people think you're doing it for. You know you're doing, and I'm just talking to anybody listening. If Allah inspires you to do something, you know your intentions.
That's right.
Some people do have intentions of just getting attention. Sometimes their intention is to get attention, but our intentions should always be professing the faith. Our intention should always be presenting ourselves with the highest standard, whether it's through cooking, baking, music, rearing children, are 7 units, And so don't let anybody try to tell you or convince you that you're doing it for the wrong reasons if you know what you're doing it for. And I've been doing the arts for years. So it wouldn't even make sense without making money from it. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to all of a sudden be just doing music for clout.
Dear sister, I can empathize with you regarding that. You have some similar experiences with this broadcast. Just have to keep going forward, knowing that your motive is as pure as you believe it is. Keep going forward. And the result is Allah will come to your side. He will bless you. He'll let you know whether or not your motive is off. As we all know from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that Allah judges the intention.
That's right.
Not necessarily the action. And we've been blessed with growth and success, as you will and are being blessed with growth and success, dear sister. So I'm with you on that. We've arrived at the top of the second hour. For those of you who may have just tuned in, you are tuned in, of course, to Closing the Gap broadcast, and we are blessed and honored and privileged to host our dear sister, musical artist Akilah Nehanda. So back to you.
Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah.
Brother Chad.
Yes, sir. If you wouldn't mind, dear sister, I know you have been a part of different panelist discussions. What are some of the points you have been blessed to speak about or to get across at these panel discussions?
Recently, at the All Black National Convention, I was on a panel about male-female relationships and the dynamic between, going 50-50 and all of that, because in one of my songs, We Don't Think the Same, I said 50-50 debate, you the man halfway? And so I think, I'm a little controversial, but we had a discussion about that. And so my opinion when it comes to male and female relationships and how the woman, we are our husband's helpmeet, you know what I mean? And so we help in whichever way we can. And so I remember the minister saying that a sister wrote him one time and was like, my husband is trying to do everything he can and he's just not making enough money and he's doing this and he's doing that. What can I do? I don't, what she said something like, I don't, I think she was basically saying she doesn't bring in any income or something like that. And she was saying, you know, well, what should I do? And the minister was like, help them. and so and so I think that of course we as sisters, we have to use common sense. You know, if our husbands are doing everything that they can, then we have to start getting creative and finding ways to help our men so that they can support us full out like they would like to, or whatever the case may be. But I'm very much so an advocate for women staying in their femininity the best way that they can, and for women to really take hold of our responsibilities as mothers, and our focus as best as we can on our children, their education, their upbringing, because we don't want this world to raise them. And you never, like the minister said, you can't make your children a Muslim. Only Allah can make them a Muslim in the heart. But what we can do is do all that we can in our power to put them in the proper environments and give them the proper nurturing. And it's hard to do that when we're tied up and we're trying to work for the white man all the time. And we're just, you know, and so I think family is something that I feel strongly about because it's the cornerstone of our nation. So we need to really start talking about it. And I believe that's the topic for Savior's Day this year is marriage, and talking about the importance and the sanctity of marriage and how important it is, especially for the Black community, for us as women to really support our men in this, in the men to be helping you know, their women. So I think that's one of the things that I enjoy talking about. But there's always, you know, I'm always on panels talking about the importance of, you know, positive hip hop as well.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, dear sister, for that answer.
Yes, sir.
All right, we've got a question here from Sister, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Tornesia Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank you. My daughter seen you and said, Mommy, she looks natural, not a lot of makeup. I love her. So the question my daughter Talia is asking is, has anyone approached you to look like them, meaning with tight clothing? And then in another post, she said that her daughter who asked the question is 8 years old.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Tornesia and Sister Talia. I am honored that Talia thinks I look beautiful in my naturalness. And yes, I've never actually been, I think because of my personality, people don't even try me like that. Like, oh, you should be putting on some tight clothes. Like, I think I don't present myself in a way that makes people think that they can tell me that, or, you know, but I think it's also because the type of style that I do wear is attractive. Even though I'm modest and I'm covered up, it looks nice. And so people don't, I don't think they have the feeling that they need to give me another alternative, you know. So let's say you were wearing clothes that were modest, but they might look homely, or it's not matching, or it's not stylish, and you are presenting yourself as an entertainer, then yes, you might get some people to be like, well, maybe you need to try something else. Maybe you need to put on something tight because what you wearing ain't working. So I think it's because what I do wear compliments me. And it is still, like I said, it's still clothes that people who are not Muslim still like. And I get compliments from people who are not Muslims all the time, that I think that's why they don't try to pressure me into looking any other way. So Talia, you have to be confident in how you look now. You have to be confident in the clothes that you wear and the styles that you have, because when you're confident like that, Talia, the world will bend to what you're doing. And it's no longer about them trying to pull you into what they're doing. People are going to start looking at you and saying, well, how do you do your hair, your scarves like that? How do you need to give us a tutorial, girl, like, because we want to look like that. We want to wear our scarves like you. We want to where did you get your outfit? And so they'll start asking you those questions, and you can just be yourself. Like the minister said, they're all going to be coming our way soon. If you really look in social media, I'm starting to see a lot of marketing, like, and it could just be my algorithm, but I'm starting to see a lot of like covering up, and a lot of like hijabi styles, and a lot of Muslim women becoming influencers. So all of that is coming towards the Nation of Islam very soon. So we have to present ourselves in the best manners that we can. But thank you for the question, Talia.
Praise be to Allah. That is great. Dear sister, what do you think about the current state of hip hop, and what would you list as your top 3 artists?
Well, Lauryn Hill will always be my top.
Mm-hmm.
On the top, probably number 1 for female, singer and rapper. I really like Left Eye. Notice I'm like naming all these people from back in the day, but I really enjoyed Left Eye's her tone, the way she rapped. It just was. I love her tone. And I'm not sure. I can't think. Those are like the 2 that always pop in my mind, because those were the 2 that impacted me the most. But I think those 2 are really impactful. And then I have some peers like Aaliyah Sharif and Heck of a Mecca that I enjoy listening to. Yeah, so those are those. But I think also when it comes to the current state of hip hop, y'all see how it is. I ain't even gotta, good God. I actually, when Brother James told me about, the interview, and he was like, you can, think of a topic that you want. And I was thinking, man, I was just thinking about how Nicki Minaj and Meg Thee Stallion are in this beef. And I was thinking about how, like, wow, we have to bring back like some type of unity in hip hop, especially female hip hop. There's always some beef going on that it really is, it's unnecessary. But I think that all of that is going to be a thing of the past soon. And so I think that the people are going to be inclined to peace very soon, because there's so much chaos in the world that I think when everybody gets dissatisfied enough, they're going to just want to see different, hear different, think different. So everything is going to be pointing to, us. Everything's going to be pointing to the new state of hip hop, which will be an elevated style of hip hop. And the thing that I do love about the state of hip hop today is that we have social media, and that you don't need an A&R. You don't need anybody to put your stuff out. So I'm able to see so many different hundreds and hundreds of artists, and I think that's a really good thing. So yeah, the state of hip hop right now, it needs a makeover, just like everything, this entire world, every avenue is falling. Like the minister said, the crumbling of a great nation. It wasn't the crumbling.
Unraveling
of a great nation.
That's right. The unraveling of a great nation. That's yes. Everything is unraveling. Yes. Oh, and then you have the comedy world with the whole Cat Williams thing. Everything is unraveling, So the comedy world, the hip hop world, but at the same time, because of social media, you have a rise of a whole nother generation of these things. So that's the good news, being in the time that we're in now. We can override that, because people are going to start looking for us.
Thank you, dear sister. Praise God. All right.
Sister Akilah, how do you balance, your career as an artist and influence with, duties as, a wife and a mother And of course, we have one of our fabulous study guides by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. One of those is the struggle for balance. So how do you, how do you balance all that you have going on in Akilah's world?
Well, one, I'm so blessed and thankful that my husband is patient. He's one of the most patient men I ever met. And I'm also happy that my daughter is only 4, because I'm learning right now the best way to balance it. So what I've recently done is I've written a schedule of my social media content creation. So I've made it where only on Tuesdays and Thursdays I shoot content, right? And on Tuesdays I shoot a reel, really 2 reels, and a long sit down video. On Thursdays I shoot I'll start maybe shooting a video with my daughter Neilani. We're starting a meditation series where I was looking for some videos on YouTube where, they have mommy and me or children meditation, or, and I couldn't really find any. And you definitely ain't gonna find Black people like, in that way with the little children, even though we do meditation and all of that. But to find it on YouTube was really hard. So I just did a video on Thursday about it. So what I do now is I try my best to stick with the schedule that I've given myself of when to post, when to shoot content, so that my life is not revolving around content creation. My life is not revolving around, oh, I got to do this. I got to put this video out, and I'm constantly on my phone. I'm constantly looking at the comments, having to respond to the comments, because like they say, your interaction, plays a role in your videos being seen and all that. So I think it's very important, in order to have balance, I have to write everything down as to when to do what. And I'm also working on my sleeping schedule, where I'm doing this. Literally came to me the other day. I said, it has never really worked for me to just go to sleep at a decent time like that. For some reason, my whole life, I never really had a bedtime. So, so because of that, when you don't have a bedtime when you're little, you get older and you don't have a bedtime, and then you really just all over the place. So that, working on my sleeping schedule, and I told myself, I said, I'm gonna just have to go to bed when I put my daughter to bed, and then I'll probably wake up at maybe 4 a.m, and just stay up for the rest of the day, or 5. And of course, I'll be able to make prayer and all of that. So it's really about scheduling everything and striving your best to stick to the schedule, because the discipline that it takes, I mean, that's the hardest part. A lot of it is not the lack of talent, it's the lack of discipline. And so I'm working on my discipline so that I can share my time properly with my husband and my daughter.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, dear sister. We'll keep it going with the questions. This next is from Emily Muhammad. She says, Assalamu alaikum. You did mention groups coming back. Do you plan to team up with other MGT rappers in the NOI?
I would love to. I actually thought about that the other day, and my only reservation is I wonder if they would want to collab with me because some people are focused on building their brand, right? And so because they're focused on building their brands, they don't necessarily want to take the focus off of their individual brand as of yet, right? So that was my only thought. Like, I'm not sure if other people would be in the position to, because we can do songs together all the time, but when it comes to like a group, or because you can do both as well, I believe that you can have a collaboration, a collective, and still be a solo artist as well. I think that I mean, there have been people to do it. I'm trying to think of like an example of that. But for example, I know with TLC. So TLC, you had Lisa Left Eye, you had T-Boz and Chili. But I remember there was a song on the radio, an R&B song, and Left Eye she was a feature. So it kind of shows that you can kind of step out of the group and, you know, do your own thing as well. So I think it's very possible, but it almost seems as if we're in a time right now where the MGT rappers are trying to build themselves up like individually first. And I'm not sure if they're willing or ready to collaborate in that way yet. But I do see that coming. And I actually hope it comes soon, where even if it's just, because I don't mind doing it, but I wonder if there's going to be a group one day where the MGT, like a young group or whatever, come out and just come out the gate as a group, you know, instead of coming out individual and then forming a group. I feel like there will be some people to come out the gate as a group. And then, of course, that, you know, dismisses any feelings of, oh no, will they want to be a group? No, you're going to come out as a group. So I wouldn't mind being in a collective and also being a solo artist, being able to do my own stuff, because a lot of what we have to realize is that, and I've been in this artist industry for a long time. I'm talking about theater people, music people, artsy people, a lot of, and you're dealing with Black people now. A lot of Black people, they want to shine on their own. And even though we see how powerful groups are, we still want to do everything by ourselves. But I really hope that one day we realize the power it is that's in uniting with each other. So yeah, inshallah, we'll see. But I'm definitely open to being in a collective with an MGT. I've just been kind of shy asking because I don't know the response. I only have one person truly in mind, but I'm like, I don't know if they'll want to do that right now because they're trying to build their brand.
I can see that happening, though, definitely.
Right.
There's a rich history of groups being successful, particularly female groups in the R&B world. So I definitely can see that trending.
Oh yeah,
Indeed.
It'll be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It would. Let's see here. We've got more questions here, so we'll keep it rolling. The next question. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Akilah. What is your favorite surah in the Quran or message by the minister or any of the great students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I was reading this morning, Surah 40, The Believer. I want to say it was ayat 17 or I don't remember. It might have had a 7 in it. But it was basically saying, let me see, because I thought about, I was just doing a topic about justice, and that's on my YouTube channel. Let me see. And I want to find the surah 40. I want to see, maybe it's 17. Yes. This isn't the Maulana Muhammad Ali translation. It's just on Google. So I don't know what translation this is. But it says, this day, every soul will be recompensed for what it earned. No injustice today. Indeed, Allah is swift in account. And so when I read that this morning, I was thinking, man, I literally just did a video about what's justice. You know, what is justice? What does it look like? And what I was saying is that a lot of times we want justice now, you know, but the way Allah has it, you might not get justice till generations down the line. You know what I mean? It could come through your children, through your children's children. So a lot of times when people say, well, How is it that white people can put us in slavery and do all this for over 400 years and we still ain't got reparations? We still ain't got this. We don't have no land. We're mentally, spiritually, morally, financially bankrupt, all these things, right? So it seems as if Allah doesn't or won't give you justice. But justice lays down when you go to sleep and it gets up with you when you wake up. And Allah, just like in that surah, it said, no injustice today. And I just feel like we're living in a time where all of the things that we're doing is coming to the light. Everything that you're doing, the good and the bad, is going to come to the light. So when I think about myself, how I've been doing music for over 10 years, not making really any money from it, just doing it off the strength of wanting to represent the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in an artistic way as an MGT in front of the world, so that people can see us as human beings, so that people won't see us as robots or all of these stereotypes that they see in all of these movies that are coming out back to back to back about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then you got MGT in the movies not looking like how we look, not talking the way we talk. And I'm like, we have to get ourselves out there. So just off of the strength of knowing my intentions, I said, well, the reason why that ayat is so powerful is because I don't have to be discouraged. You know, I don't have to feel like, oh, I've been doing this for this long, I might as well stop because I'm not here or I'm not at a level that I feel I should be. Because in truth, when you're ready, that's when everything will truly happen. Yes. And if things have not happened in the way of Michael Jackson glory, the way I wanted to be when I was 3 years old, wanted to be like Michael Jackson, if I'm not the Michael Jackson right now, it's not because I am not doing something right. It's that too, because Michael Jackson had one heck of a work ethic, but it's also because Allah is shaping my character. He's strengthening my will. He's doing all of the back work that needs to be done before you can even be on a Michael Jackson level, you know, a Beyonce level. There's so much work that has to be done, and you're not going to get it just because you want it. You get it because you earn it. Like the minister said, you got to do the work. And I know I have so much more to be doing. So I'm not actually mad at all, you know, that, you know, I'm not have 1 million followers on Instagram or 1 million followers on Facebook. I'm not mad at all, because I see the growth that I'm getting spiritually. Yes, ma'am. The growth in my character, the growth as a wife, the growth as a mother. And honestly, I would not want to have to figure all of that out in the public eye, just to be honest.
Good point.
So I'm actually grateful that I have not blown up as Michael Jackson did yet, because I want to be able to figure some more stuff out before that time. So yes, that's my favorite as of now, this morning. And of course, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, a nation can rise no higher than its woman. And from the minister, I always like when the minister talks about how his mother tried to abort him, because I think that it's such a powerful story, because my parents, they weren't married when they conceived me. They weren't married at all. They've never been married. And so I come from a single parent household as well. And so I enjoy when the minister talks about his upbringing. Anytime he talks about that, it just reminds me that Allah has his hand on who he pleases.
That's right.
You know? And so, yeah, that's that.
Praise be to Allah. We sure appreciate your transparency, sister, and all that you do.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you.
Right. We'll keep it going. This one right here is from our dear brother, Bindan Nasir. The question is, how do you choose what track you want to rhyme over? Do you have a certain kind of beat you prefer over others?
Absolutely. So I think about the beat first, because to me, that's what I like that's what attracts me. All those catchy songs that have horrible lyrics that are out right now, the only reason why they're still on the radio, besides the fact that it's a whole plot, but the other reason is because the beats are great. So I look at the beats. I like a good bass, but because I've been studying about how there are low level frequencies, I try to make sure that it's a higher frequency, because I know I enjoy the type of music that has more of an upbeat feel. I'm not really inclined to low vibrational beats, even though I'm from the home of Chop and Screw, H-Town, but I'd rather not have that type of sound. But I'd rather have more of an upbeat type of hip hop sound that makes you feel good, and but also like a good bass. So yeah.
More praises.
All right, thank you, dear sister.
Yeah, Sister Akilah, how does it make you feel? Of course, we had the question earlier from our young sister who's only 8 years old, but I know over the years you've gotten, a lot of props and compliments, not only from, sisters, but brothers as well, of really being a breath of fresh air, to be quite, straightforward. So how does that make you feel? And does that fortify you and help to motivate you to continue to do what you do, when even though you see what's kind of being presented commercially, and sometimes it's like, man, am I making a dent? Am I making an impact? But you see that you are. So talk about how that inspires you.
Exactly what you just said. There are those thoughts, there were those thoughts back in the day. Am I making an impact? I mean, I'm doing all this stuff, and are people really feeling it? And then when I would think something like that, Allah would have it where someone sends me a message, and of course it'll be children, it'll be adults, it'll be brothers, sisters, and they'll send me a message like, oh man, this made my day, and my daughter looks up to you. My sons, they love watching this video, Well Made Man. My song Well Made Man, people still talk about that to this day. I got some t-shirts made that says Well Made Man, that are for sale as well. And I got to figure out how to put that online so people all over the country can start purchasing it instead of just being in front of me. But it's those moments that do and that have pushed me to keep going, because as an artist, like Erykah Badu said, we sensitive about our stuff now. And I think it's because you're giving yourself. It's not about, when you have the right motive, it's not about you per se. It's really, you're trying to service the world. You're trying to give them something to listen to. And so some artists, and I do think about this, and I'm like, man, should I become one of those artists where they only make music for them, like, for their therapy? Or how can I get it where it's both? And I think now I've gotten to a point where my new mixtape on my website, akilahsworld.com, that is a compilation of the music that I've been doing over the years. And I labeled that mixtape, almost threw it away, because it's literally music that was sitting in my email that I just never put out. It was a lot of music on that mixtape that I guess, in my mind, maybe I wanted to go back to it and do this and do that. But then when I recently, went back to it, I was like, no, this is really good. I could put this out right now. So a lot of that is because sometimes you do feel like, how will your music be received? And, so I think that as an artist, we have to stay encouraged. We have to stay encouraged. And the applause, like Minister Farrakhan says, that applause is a drug. But I've been doing this so long, and even doing theater, being on stages where they literally applaud after the show, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm very used to applause. I'm very used to the bravos and the kudos. Praise be to Allah. because if I wasn't used to it, when I don't get it, that would be a problem, right? So I've learned over the years to just stay self-encouraged. And Allah, He's so merciful that when I do feel like, man, are people even watching? Are people even listening? When I do feel like that, He always sends me someone who inboxes me, texts me, oh, girl, we were just watching your video. I got a whole class that was watching your video, you know? And it's like, man, Allah, you really don't want me to stop.
Right.
You will not let me stop. So, yes, ma'am, to answer your question, it's great.
Praise be to Allah. Along with that, you know, I think about the era of hip hop that we grew up in that was called conscious music. You know, we think about those, the Rakims, the Karas Ones, the Diggable Planets, the Queen Latifah. You know, when we would come home from school and we could turn on MTV Rap, we could turn on Rap City, The Basement, and they would play music that would have, you know, Minister Farrakhan, his voice on it. A brother would be outside selling a bean pie, or you would have Malcolm X, you know, and it was just over the airwaves. Like you could literally just come home and watch it. You can actually hear it on radio stations. Now, a lot of those type of music, that type of music is more considered underground, or you really don't, you're not going to just cut on the radio station and hear a lot of those type of music, that type of music. And I know it make it hard for artists like yourself, because it's almost like you have to go to the underground stations, or the ones that might, you know, play local music for an hour here or there and stuff, you know, so it doesn't get a chance to go into mainstream. But yet, you know, you still have the desire to push, you know, so we applaud you for that, dear sister, and all the artists within the Nation of Islam and those that's doing music that's more considered conscious and that's helping our people out. Can you give any testimonies, you know, with your music, how it have helped in the light of Islam, you know, just making friendships in all walks of life, or have it ever had people now interested in Islam and want to learn more about it or come into the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. And when you think about that era that you're talking about, think about the nation during that era. We were really on the move when it came to us and our boldness, and, you know, the 90s, you know, the Million Man March and all of that. So we have to look at the climate and how it's really up to us to get it back to that, you know. So I think that it's gonna happen again. Once I believe when the minister departs, I believe that the spirit is going to have to be one where we have to carry the light, and we have to go hard like the minister goes hard, and how he went hard in the 80s and the 90s, and he ain't stopped. But it's a matter of, we're going to have to do that. And so once we do that, I believe that those voices will be back on the airwaves, because our energy will force the world to start bowing down towards us and, you know, Master Fard Muhammad. So I think that that's that when it comes to the era. And the second question you said was about what was it?
Just your influence through music. Have you seen like can testify of those coming into Islam or get them towards want to learn more about it and whatnot?
Yes, because I've been doing this over the years, I've gotten a lot of different messages about how my music impacted them. One of the brothers who actually has a restaurant in Detroit, who he said he owns a restaurant now, and I believe a lot of the brothers and sisters are going to patronize it this year for Savior's Day. He said he joined because of my song Well Made Man.
Oh, wow.
So I have those type of testimonies. I have a sister who told me that my song is the song on my album Paradigm called Served. She said that song saved her life.
Wow.
Because
That's what I'm talking about.
she was in a domestic, you know, situation. And the song says, "Will justice be served? Will he get what he deserves? Like I got what I deserve." And so it's a song that's kind of telling a story, going back and forth between a friend and another friend, telling, their story or whatever. So she said that saved her life. And then I have a lot of other people who have said that by me doing what I'm doing, that it has impacted them in a way where, they have never seen, or heard about the Nation of Islam, or they never knew that the Muslim women were allowed to rap. They
Wow.
didn't know that Muslim women were allowed to dance. They didn't know Muslim women were allowed to put themselves in the public. So a lot of stereotypes were broken from my music, praise be to Allah. And just, over the years, a lot of children, like Sister Starla asked, a lot of children have been affected. And, when I put out my video, We Out Here, it was a group of girls who reenacted the entire video, costumes, and they filmed it. And I really wish I could find that video, but it was years ago when I put that song out. And I've had sisters who've done reports about me for school. And so those are the things that always, touch my heart, especially when the children do have me as their project for school. I'm like, that's pretty cool. It's just different things that have happened over the years that are really special. And it shows that even if you're just one person, you can affect people in a way that you just don't even know. And there's people who haven't told me how I have affected them, but there's people all over the world who are watching. And I'm not just talking about me now. I'm talking about anyone who's listening who feels like they're not impacting people by the things that, they're doing in service. But there are people who are watching you. You don't know who they are, but it doesn't mean that they're not watching. And you could truly be impacting someone so much so that it just changes their life. And I remember watching, it might have been yesterday or the day before, Lauryn Hill talking on the stage and saying that her mother took care of her children while she was touring and doing all this stuff, and how she was able to feed the people with her music because of the family. And she was able to, there's people who were saying that, she saved their life, just listening to her music. But she couldn't do that without, the family that she has. But that's a real thing. As artists, you don't know who you're affecting, but you're affecting people all over the world. And I was actually recently watching a documentary about these girls back in, I want to say 1998. It was an older documentary where they followed two juvenile girls, and they were, one was in juvenile, locked up because she killed a girl, and she was 14, 15, and the other girl was in juvenile for something else. But they followed these girls for 3 years. One of the things that one of them was talking about is how her favorite artist is Lauryn Hill. And then in the documentary, you could hear them playing the song, because it was like a little jail, but they could interact with each other. They could listen to music and all this type of stuff. And they were playing the Miseducation album because that was the time where that was out. And I was just thinking to myself, wow, Lauryn Hill probably would never know that these girls who were really going through some horrible things in their lives, rape, kill people, all these different things, but they were listening to her music.
Right.
It was resonating with them at the lowest point of their lives. So it just showed me wow, you don't know where your music is going to end up. You don't know who's going to be listening to it and why they need to hear your voice. You don't know what they're going through. And so I think about that because I'll never know all the people who I've affected.
True indeed.
That is
to Allah. That is wonderful. All right.
Excellent.
it's due to Allah. We have about Wow, time is really flying, as they say. But we have about perhaps uh, six more minutes or so. Maybe we can stretch it to 10 before we get into our closing announcements. This sojourn, dear sister, that you are on, as of course with many other artists, as you referred to the expression starving artists, I've heard that before. But we really would like to facilitate some kind of help. I see your information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. You can repeat it as well as it, so sometimes the eye doesn't catch it, but the ears may. So if you would again let us know how we can donate, how we can support.
Yes, sir. My website is akilahsworld.com, AKILAHS, and then world, WORLD.com, akilahsworld.com. I have different links on that page to donate. And then my Cash App is Goddess Flow, GODDESSFLOW, Goddess Flow. And it's funny, one of the things Brother Hafiz told me before he passed away, when I went to, I think it was maybe a Savior's Day, and I saw him, he was like, Assalamu alaikum, sister. And I was like, what, salam? And he was just like, I love the song, We Out Here, but you are a god, not goddess. And I was like,
That's our feast.
right.
That's
He was
it.
like, you are a god, not goddess. And so I always laugh about that because he's right. Look, I made that Cash App name before he said that, so.
It's all right.
Understood. Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. All right.
All right. Can we get another question in before we go to our closing announcements?
Well, let's see here. There is a question. I don't know. This is, I guess, a little NOI trivia question. Somebody asked, who was the first female rapper in the NOI? I don't know.
People always talk about Star and Crescent, that group.
Oh,
but that's the oldest that I could think of. So it's Star and Crescent, and then so apparently at Savior's Day there's going to be an exhibit. I want everybody to go, even though I'll be in Alabama. There's going to be an exhibit where they have they're going to honor all of the different NOI artists from over the time. So even Star and Crescent, those sisters, they're going to honor them. Going to have big cutout poster boards of the artists, and they're going to be able to put their bios and stuff like that. So there's going to be that section at Savior's Day. That might have been a spoiler alert, but but you got it here first. No.
That's right.
And so they're going to have that, inshallah, as a component to Savior's Day. So if you don't know, it might be answered at that, at that exhibit.
That would be wonderful. Praise be to them. Real quick too, if you could work with any artist, this sister, who would it be and why?
It would be Lauryn Hill.
See that coming.
Because she's literally
That's right.
Because she's literally, she's just the spirit of Allah was just on her. I mean, during her career, she's still doing it, but it's just, I would love that. I can't really think of a current artist that gives me that same,
I feel you,
legendary vibe, because it's bigger than, it's spiritual,
right, that's right.
It's a spiritual connection. And she did something for us. She did something for Black people. And I mean men and women.
That's right. And
so I still haven't seen that impact as of yet. So it would have to be her until further notice.
Wow, I agree. She's wonderful.
Yes, she is.
She is. She's
want to hear more from her, in fact.
Yeah.
I know.
All praise is due to Allah. As we are approaching the close of the broadcast or going into our closing announcements, can you give us some life lessons, particularly in this genre of your journey? But can you give us some life lessons, particularly artists, aspiring artists such as yourself?
Yes, sir. Always think about what Allah has for you, and always think about what it is that Allah put you here for, because we can get caught up in looking at everybody else, especially because of social media. We have the advantage of looking at everybody else's lives, on our phones all day. So one of the suggestions that I would have is to limit that type of screen time, because you don't want to bombard yourself with other people's lives. It starts to make you feel like you're not doing what you need to do. Um, and it can get you off focus. So what I did was I put a lot of people on mute on my Instagram. So I don't see a lot of people. Like, I see a few people on my page, but the majority of the people who I follow are on mute, because I don't want to think about what everybody else is doing per se. I want to focus on what Allah has for me. So focus your best in the best way you can on what Allah has for you. One of the things the minister said was, when you're feeling down, to go outside and walk in nature and look at the trees, how solid the trees are. Look at the birds. Look at the flowers. Look at nature. Look at all of these things, and just think about how life goes on and how life is so obedient to Allah. And so when we are depressed, it is because we are not in present time, and we have to start to live in the moment. Because when we start feeling depressed, and a lot of artists are feelers, so we feel a lot. If you are an artist, or even if you're not an artist and you feel a lot, I would say stop thinking about the past and what happened in the past, and stop thinking about that future that you think is just going to be so no good, and oh God, I'm always be broke, I'm always be this, I'm always just think about what are you doing right now.
Right.
And what can you do right now in this moment, and that depression will slowly start falling away.
Beautiful.
Because you'll start thinking about, oh, I'm in this moment right now. It's not about what happened to me in the past, and it's not about what is going to happen in the future. It's about, what can I do in this moment? What type of power do I have in this moment? Even if it's just writing down a plan in the moment, or journaling, doing some meditation, breathing, listen to your breath. And so those are the type of things that I would say, is to stay in present time as much as you possibly can, so that you won't fall into a depression, because this is a very depressing world. And so that's a real thing. But like the minister said, if you have anxiety, you living in Niggerville.
That's right.
So we got to figure out how not to have anxiety and grief, and to stay up on our prayers. That's my only advice.
All praises due to Allah. Very sage, very inspiring advice,
Right.
Listen, we got to have you back.
Yeah.
And I always remember that when we first started this broadcast, people were cautioning me about the 2-hour length. Well, James, you might want to consider making it an hour or so. But thank Allah that I didn't capitulate, because the 2 hours goes so fast. There's always a vast amount of information that our guests bring. Very important, very helpful information. And of course, you follow suit. So thank you, dear sister, for honoring us here on our broadcast. We certainly will be asking for you to make a return presentation.
Praise Allah.
Almighty God, Allah, please give all of the believers, your family, of course, first, and the believers in Houston, to our dear student minister, Halim Muhammad. Please give him our love and greetings, and all of the believers.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having me. And which mosque is 47 again?
In Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool.
Yes.
Awesome.
Come visit us. Come down here. Come visit us. Praise be to Allah.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you again, dear sister. And let's go to our closing announcements. My producer has been on us about trying to close out on time, which I never meet the mark.
Sister Sheila don't play.
You don't play, so at this time, we're going to go to our closing announcements. Thank you again, dear sister. May Allah continue to bless you. And of course, you'll be in our prayers for your success. But we're quite sure that Allah is going to bless you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you.
All right. Sister Stala.
Yes, sir. Brothers and sisters, thank you once again for tuning in to Closing the Gap. I would like to encourage you to visit finalcall.com. That's www.finalcall.com, and take out a subscription. You can take out a digital subscription to the Final Call newspaper, or, of course, when you are in neighborhoods around your city, when you see the brothers, the mighty FOI, with a physical edition of the Final Call, make sure you pick up one, not only for yourself, but pick up another one for a family member or friend. On that very same website, if you click the store option, that will take you to store.finalcall.com, where you can order the books and messages of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as messages from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And last but not least, if you click on Final Call Radio, that's Final Call Radio, or you can download the app, you can listen to excerpts of messages and musical selections from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once again, that is on Final Call Radio. And now I will pass the mic to Student Minister Chad Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Stala. For all of those that are here listening, tuning in, for whether it's your very first, second, or third time or whatever, if you're interested in the teachers and learning more about these life-giving teachers, we want you to join us at www.noi.org/join and fill out the digital form you see right here on the screen, that someone can get back in touch with you and start the process of orientation class. And we will also like to encourage those who would like to learn more to report to your nearest study groups and your mosques in your cities to hear about these life-giving teachers. And by chance, if you get the opportunity, or if you're in the Bay Area, whether it's in St. Petersburg, Bradenton, Tampa, Brandon, or wherever, we want to encourage you to stop by Mosque 47 tomorrow to hear our dear brother and student in the ministry, Student Minister Ali Muhammad, with this wonderful lecture entitled "The Stone the Builders Rejected," Part 2. And if by chance you're not able to make it out to your nearest study group or mosque, please, you can go to NOI.org and hear the life-giving teachings, Making Our Word Bond, delivered by Student Minister Abel Muhammad. Please tune in at www.noi.org webcast. Thank you, family. I turn it back over to you, Student Minister James.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you, Brother Chad. And for those of you who are regularly viewing our broadcasts, we hope and pray that it's edifying, inspiring, and enjoyable, as it is for us here in the studios. However, and those of you who do enjoy it, we ask if you want to show your support, and you've already shown your support by taking your time and your valuable attention to be with us for these 2 hours. For those of you who'd like to help us in a financial way, you can go to our Cash App designation, that's $CTG broadcast, or you can go to PayPal at jkingdom1@aol.com, or you can go to Zelle at closingthegapbroadcast@gmail.com. We appreciate your continued support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And once again, one more time, Sister Akilah, for how we can help with you.
Yes, sir. AkilahsWorld.com, AKILAHSWORLD.com. And my Cash App is Goddess Flow, GODDESSFLOW. Thank you again. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. That button is also on my website.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you, and we look forward to having you back in the very near future.
Yes,
May
sir.
Allah continue to bless you. Thank you all in our viewing and listening audience. Tune in next week, same time, same station. Closing the Gap broadcast. Assalamu alaikum.
Like,
Walaikum salam.